The great hall floated in the empty space between stars. It was made of crystal that caught the light of 1,000 distant suns, and inside it sat the representatives of 847 species from across the galaxy. This was the Galactic Concord, the place where civilizations came to talk instead of fight. Ambassador walked to the center podium. He was tall, almost 3 meters, and his body was covered in scales that changed color with his mood. Right now they shimmered with a deep purple that meant pride and contempt. The Dominion had ruled their section of space for 12,000 years. They had conquered 47 species. They had never lost a war. Members of the Concord, said, his voice filling the hall through translation devices worn by every delegate. The Dominion has been patient. We have watched the humans spread into the Orion Spur. We have watched them build their little colonies on worlds that belong to us by ancient right. We have waited for them to understand their place. He paused and let his scales flash red, the color of anger. They have not learned. So today, before this assembly, I declare formal war upon the United Terran Federation. We will take what is ours. We will teach these children of the galaxy what it means to challenge the hall erupted in noise. Some species gasped. Others made sounds of approval. They had many allies and many others feared them too much to object. But mostly there was a strange kind of excitement. War between species was rare. It was entertainment for those not involved. In the back of the hall, the human delegation sat in silence. There were only 3 of them. They wore simple gray uniforms with no medals or decorations. Ambassador was a small woman with dark hair turning gray at the temples. She sat with her hands folded, watching with an expression that revealed nothing. The Speaker of the Concord, a floating creature made of light and gas, turned toward the human section. The Terran Federation may respond to this declaration. Stood up slowly. She was so much smaller than most of the beings in the room. When she spoke, her voice was calm and quiet, but the translation systems carried it to every corner. We acknowledge receipt of your declaration, she said. We recommend you reconsider. That was all. She sat back down. The hall exploded with laughter. The sound came from dozens of species in dozens of ways. Clicks, whistles, deep rumbles, high-pitched squeals. The delegation laughed loudest of all. Scales turned bright orange with amusement. Reconsider, he said. Little human, your species has been traveling between stars for barely 300 years. My people were building empires when yours was still living in caves and hitting each other with rocks. More laughter filled the hall. In the observation section, a scholar named watched the scene with her 4 eyes. There were archivists. They recorded history but did not participate in it. Had been studying species interactions for 200 years, and something about this moment bothered her. She looked at the human delegation. They were not angry. They were not afraid. Ambassador had a small smile on her face, and she was whispering something to the man beside her. He nodded and wrote something on a small device. Had seen many species receive declarations of war. She had seen panic. She had seen desperate pleading. She had seen proud defiance followed by quick defeat. But she had never seen this. The humans looked patient, like they were waiting for something. After the assembly ended, made her way through the crowded halls toward the human delegation. Species moved around her in rivers of different colors and shapes and sizes. They and their allies were celebrating loudly. Other delegations were already making bets on how quickly the war would end. She found Ambassador near the transport dock, waiting for her shuttle. Ambassador said, approaching carefully, I am scholar of the archive. May I ask you a question? Turned to look at her. Up close, the human's eyes were brown and warm, but there was something behind them, something old. Of course, scholar. Your species is outnumbered. They have 10 times your ships and 100 times your military experience. By every measurement, you cannot win this war, tilted her head. Yet you do not seem concerned. Why? Was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled again and felt something cold move through her body. "Let me ask you something, scholar. What do you know about human history? I know you achieved recently. I know you unified your planet about 400 years ago. I know you have expanded quickly but peacefully into nearby systems. Do you know why we unified our planet?" Searched her memory. "I do not have that information." "We unified because we got tired of killing each other," said. "For 10,000 years before we reached the stars, we fought wars. Hundreds of them, thousands of them. Wars over land, wars over ideas, wars over resources, wars over nothing at all." She paused. "We killed each other by the millions. We invented weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. We built systems that could end all life on our planet if anyone pressed the wrong button." Felt her four hearts beating faster. "That is unusual." "We're not proud of it," said. "We've spent centuries trying to be better, building instead of destroying, creating instead of conquering. We came to the stars hopping to leave our violent past behind." Her smile faded. "But we never forgot how to be what we were. We just chose not to be. There's a difference." The shuttle arrived and gathered her things. "They think we're young because we're new to space," she said as she walked toward the shuttle door. "They don't understand. We're not young. We're very, very old. We've just been trying to grow up." She looked back at one last time. "Tell your archive to pay attention to this war, scholar. Your records might need updating." The door closed and the shuttle departed. Stood alone in the dock for a long time. Around her, other delegations laughed and talked about the foolish humans who thought they could fight but was already writing her first observation. It said, "The humans are not afraid. I do not yet know why, but I believe we should all be very concerned about the answer." 3 days after the declaration, Scholar arrived on Earth. The archive had sent her to document what they expected would be a short war. Most scholars predicted the humans would surrender within weeks. Was not so sure. Her transport descended through clouds and blue sky toward a city called Geneva. From above, Earth looked peaceful. Green forests, blue oceans, white clouds. It was a beautiful world. Had visited many planets, but this one felt different somehow. Alive in a way she could not explain. A human officer named Captain David met her at the landing port. He was young by human standards, with black hair and tired eyes. He did not smile when he greeted her. "Scholar," he said, "welcome to Earth. I'll be your guide during your observation mission." "Thank you, Captain. I expected to find your people preparing for evacuation. Instead, your cities seem normal." Started walking and followed him on her 4 legs. "Why would we evacuate?" "The fleet outnumbers yours significantly. Standard protocol for most species would be to move civilians to protected locations." Made a sound that did not recognize. Later, she learned it was called a laugh, but it had no joy in it. "We don't run, scholar. That's not how we do things." Over the next several days showed her many things. He took her to factories that were changing their production. Yesterday they had been making civilian vehicles. Today they were making parts for warships. The workers did not complain. They did not ask questions. They simply began working longer hours. "How are they doing this so quickly?" asked. "We have plans," said. "Old plans. We hoped we would never need them, but we never threw them away." He took her to military bases where soldiers were training, but these were not regular soldiers. They were civilians who had been called back to service. Teachers, engineers, farmers, shop owners. They put on uniforms and picked up weapons like they had done it before. "These people were soldiers?" asked. "Everyone serves for 2 years when they become adults," explained. "After that, they return to normal life, but they never really stop being soldiers. They just become soldiers who do other things." Watched a gray-haired woman assemble a weapon in less than 30 seconds. Her hands moved without thinking. Then she went back to helping others who were slower. She was a doctor for 40 years, said. Before that, she was a combat medic. She saved lives in a small war we had before unification. Now she will save lives again. That knight took to a library, not a digital archive like the used, but a building filled with physical books and screens and records of human history, left her there with access to everything. You want to understand us, he said. This is where you'll find answers. Read for 3 days without stopping. Did not need much sleep, and she could process information quickly. But the information she found made her stop many times simply because she could not believe what she was reading. Humans had been fighting wars since before they could write. They had names for every kind of war. Wars where armies met on open fields. Wars fought in jungles and mountains and cities. Wars fought in secret with spies and lies. Wars fought across entire continents that killed millions of people. She read about a war they called World War I. It lasted 4 years and killed 20 million humans. Then, barely 20 years later, they fought an even larger war. World War II killed 70 million. They invented bombs that split atoms and destroyed entire cities in seconds. Stopped reading and simply stared at the screen for a long time. 70 million dead in a single war. This biggest war had killed perhaps 200,000 across 3 species. The humans had killed 70 million of themselves. She kept reading. She learned about weapons called nuclear missiles. Every major human nation had them. For decades, these nations pointed these weapons at each other, knowing that if anyone used them, everyone would die. They called this mutually assured destruction. They had made peace not because they wanted to, but because the alternative was the end of their species. She read about something called guerrilla warfare, where small groups of fighters would hide among civilians and attack larger armies for years or decades until the larger armies gave up and went home. She read about scorched earth, where retreating armies would burn everything so their enemies could not use it. She read about soldiers who would strap explosives to their bodies and walk into enemy positions. She read about a battle at a place called Thermopylae, where 300 warriors fought against an army of thousands and died to the last man rather than surrender. This battle happened almost 3,000 years ago. Humans still told stories about it. Near the end of the 3rd day, Captain returned. "Have you learned enough?" he asked. Turned to look at him. For the first time since arriving, she felt something close to fear. "Your people are insane," she said. Nodded slowly. "By galactic standards, probably yes. You have been killing each other for thousands of years. You created weapons that could destroy your entire world. You have more words for war than any species I have ever studied." That's all true. Stood up on her 4 legs. They believe they are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They have conquered many species, but they have never fought a species like yours. They do not know what you are. No, agreed, they don't. What are you, Captain? What are humans? Walked to a window and looked out at the night sky. Somewhere up there, warships were moving toward human space. Somewhere up there, human warships were preparing to meet them. "We are the species that survived," he said quietly. "Our planet tried to kill us with ice and fire and disease. We survived. We tried to kill each other for 10,000 years. We survived. We built weapons that could end everything. We survived." He turned to look at her. "The think war is about winning. For them it probably is. But for humans, war has always been about surviving, and we are very, very good at surviving." That night sent her second report to the archive. It was longer than the first. "I have studied human history," she wrote. "I now understand why they are not afraid. They believe they are predators and humans are prey. They are wrong. Humans are predators too. They are the most successful predators their planet ever produced, and they have been practicing war on each other since before the Dominion existed. They have made a terrible mistake." Fleet commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Wrath, and watched his fleet move through space like a river of death. 300 warships, each one carrying weapons that could crack a planet's surface. 12,000 years of military tradition flowed through his blood. The human colony world of 7 hung in the darkness ahead. According to his scouts, the humans had only 25 ships defending it, 25 against 300. This would not be a battle, it would be a lesson. "Commander," his communications officer said, "the humans are hailing us." Allowed himself a small sound of amusement. They wish to surrender already, put them through. A human face appeared on his screen. It was an older male with dark skin and gray hair. He wore a simple uniform, and behind him could see the bridge of a human warship. It looked primitive compared to technology. "I am Admiral James of the Terran Defense Fleet," the human said. "I am giving you one chance to turn your fleet around and go home." Scales flashed bright orange. His crew made sounds of amusement. One chance. This human commanded 25 ships and was threatening 300. "Human, do you understand mathematics? Look at my fleet. Look at yours. This is already over." Admiral nodded slowly. "I understand mathematics very well, Commander. I also understand something you don't. Numbers don't win wars, will wins wars." He paused. "My ancestors fought with sticks and rocks against enemies with better weapons. They won. My grandfather fought against an army 10 times his size in a place called Biafra. He survived. My people have been fighting against bad odds for our entire history." The Admiral leaned forward. "You have numbers. We have something else." "And what is that?" Spite said, "Pure, burning spite. We would rather die than let you win easily. And today, Commander, you will learn what that means." The transmission ended. Ordered his fleet forward. He expected the humans to break and run. They did not. Instead, they formed a defensive line in front of the colony world and waited. The battle began exactly as expected. His ships were faster, stronger, and had better weapons. Human ships exploded one after another. Within the first 6 minutes, the humans had lost 8 ships. Then everything changed. A human colony transport, the kind used to carry civilians, broke away from the planet's orbit and accelerated directly toward the formation. Sensors showed it was empty of life signs except for one. "What is it doing?" he asked. Before anyone could answer, the transport exploded. Not from weapons fire, from inside. The ship had been filled with explosives. It tore through 3 cruisers and damaged 5 more. "That ship was not military," said slowly. "That was a civilian vessel. One human just killed himself to destroy our ships." More civilian ships began launching from the planet. Mining vessels, cargo haulers, personal yachts, all of them loaded with explosives, all of them piloted by single humans who did not plan to survive. "They're insane," his second officer whispered. "They're actually insane." But that was only the beginning. The human military ships changed their tactics. Instead of fighting at range, they started ramming damaged vessels. They would fire everything they had, close the distance, and slam into the enemy ship at full speed. Even dying ships kept fighting, kept moving, kept trying to take enemies with them. One human destroyer called the was hit by weapons that should have killed it instantly. Its engines were gone. Its weapons were gone. It was venting atmosphere from a dozen holes. But instead of surrendering, instead of calling for help, it used its last working thruster to turn toward the Dominion's wrath. Ordered every weapon to fire on it. Beams cut through the dying ship. Missiles tore pieces away, but it kept coming. Slowly, painfully, it dragged itself through space toward the flagship. At the last moment, a transmission came through. A single human voice, calm and clear despite the fire and death around him. "This is Captain of the Terran destroyer. At Thermopylae, 300 Spartans held against an army of millions. They all died, but they became legend. Today, we become legend too. Tell your children about us. Tell them we did not run. Tell them we did not surrender. Tell them that we chose this." The hit the Dominion's wrath at full speed. Survived because his bridge was on the far side of the ship from the impact, but his flagship was crippled. 4 decks were gone. 2,000 crew were dead. From one ship. One already dying ship piloted by humans who preferred death to defeat. The battle lasted 3 more hours. The one eventually. They took the colony world, but they lost 38 ships and nearly 50,000 soldiers. And they took 0 prisoners. Ordered his soldiers to capture human survivors. There were none. Every wounded human fought until they died. Several of them detonated grenades when troops approached. One human pilot, ejected from her destroyed fighter, refused rescue and instead fired her sidearm at ships until she ran out of air. After the battle, sat alone in his damaged quarters and wrote his report to the high command. His hands trembled as he wrote. His scales, for the first time in his long military career, were pale gray with confusion and fear. "We have won the Battle of 7, he wrote. But this was not war as we understand it. The humans do not fight to win. They fight to make us bleed. Every ship they lost took our ships with it. Every soldier who died killed our soldiers first. They do not fear death. They do not accept surrender. They are something we have never faced." He paused and looked out his window at the burning remains of human ships. Somewhere in that wreckage, the bodies of humans floated in the void. They had died rather than give up. "I do not know how to fight an enemy that is happy to die as long as we die with them," he continued. "I recommend we reconsider this war. The humans warned us. We should have listened." Across the galaxy, Scholar received a copy of his report. She read it 3 times. Then she began writing a message to every species she knew. It said, "The war has begun. They have won the first battle, but they have already lost something more important. They have lost the belief that they cannot be hurt, and the humans have proven that they will hurt anyone who threatens them, no matter the cost. This war will not be short, and it will not end the way they expect." 6 months had passed since the Battle of 7. They had captured 3 human colony worlds. They controlled space around those worlds. Their flags flew over human cities. Their soldiers walked human streets. They had won. But winning was supposed to mean peace. Winning was supposed to mean the conquered species accepted their new masters and life continued under rule. That was how it had always worked. That was how it had worked with 47 other species. The humans had not received this information. Military Governor stood in her command center on the occupied world of New Brisbane and stared at reports she did not understand. Yesterday, a power station had exploded. The day before, 3 supply convoys had been attacked. Last week, someone had poisoned the water supply at a military base. 12 soldiers were dead. There were no human military forces on the planet. The human fleet had retreated months ago. These attacks were coming from civilians. "How is this possible?" demanded. "We control everything. We have soldiers on every corner. Where are they getting weapons?" Her intelligence officer, a young male named, pulled up images on the display. "They're making them, in basements, in workshops, in farming buildings. They take apart machines and turn them into bombs. They steal our weapons when our soldiers are not looking. They hide in plain sight." The display showed a human female. She was old, with white hair and a bent back. She worked in a food distribution center, serving meals to soldiers. She smiled at them. She was polite. "This woman," said, "has been putting slow-acting poison in food for 2 months. 11 soldiers are sick. 3 have died. We only caught her because one soldier noticed that she never ate the food she served." Stared at the image, an old woman, a grandmother type, a killer. "What happened when you arrested her?" She bit a soldier's face and tried to gouge out his eyes. She was 73 years old. Paused. "We have interrogated many captured humans. They all say the same thing. They will never stop fighting. Their children will fight after they are dead. They will fight after that. They say their people have a tradition of resistance that goes back thousands of years." Had read the reports from other occupied worlds. They were the same. On 7, human children were carrying messages for resistance fighters. Children. Some of them were only 8 or 9 years old. On Colony, farmers had burned their own crops rather than let the use them. They had destroyed everything they owned to keep it from the enemy. The humans had a word for this, had found it in their historical records: scorched earth. It meant burning your own world so your enemy could not have it. Meanwhile, far from the occupied worlds, the human war machine was waking up. Admiral stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Perseverance. Around him, the Second Fleet was gathering. 6 months ago, humanity had 25 warships. Now they had 200, with more coming every week. The ships were not as advanced as vessels. They were simpler, rougher, built for speed rather than beauty. But they were built to human specifications, which meant they were built for war. Admiral, his tactical officer, reported, "The supply line to their occupied territories is stretched thin. They have to bring everything through the Carthage corridor. If we hit them there, they'll be cut off from reinforcements." Finished. "How many ships are guarding the corridor?" 40, sir. We'd outnumber them 5-1. For the first time in months, smiled. "Then let's give them a taste of their own medicine." The Battle of the Carthage corridor was not like 7. This time, the humans had the numbers. This time, they were the ones who were. And unlike the humans did not waste time on speeches or displays. They came in fast and hard, weapons firing before they even knew they were under attack. Human ships moved in formations they had never seen, formations developed from thousands of years of war on land and sea and air. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, 32 ships were destroyed. The humans lost 23, but they could replace those losses. They could not. More importantly, the supply line was cut. The 3 occupied worlds were now isolated. Across the galaxy, other species began to notice. The client species, the ones they had conquered centuries ago, started asking questions. If the humans could hurt them like this, maybe they were not as strong as everyone believed. On a space station far from the fighting, Scholar interviewed a captured officer named. He had been aboard one of the ships destroyed at Carthage Corridor. He had survived only because humans had pulled him from the wreckage before he suffocated. "Why did they save me?" asked. His scales were pale and gray. He looked broken. "We would never save an enemy. Why did they?" "I do not know," admitted. "I am still trying to understand humans myself." "I asked," one of them said. "A human soldier. I asked him why they kept fighting when they lost so many ships at 7. I asked him if they ever got tired of war." "What did he say?" "Made a sound that did not recognize. Later, she learned it was crying. He laughed at me, said. He said, 'Tired of war. This is not even the worst war we have fought. You have killed maybe 100,000 of us. We have killed tens of millions of each other. We survived our own weapons, our own hate, our own stupidity. You think you can break us. We have tried to break ourselves for 10,000 years and failed.' Looked at with eyes that held no more pride, no more contempt, only fear. Then he patted me on the shoulder like I was a child. He said, 'Go home and tell your people, we will never stop. We will never surrender. We will fight until we win or until every single one of us is dead. And if you kill us all, our ghosts will find a way to haunt you.' Then he walked away. Recorded every word. She sent it to the archive. She sent it to every species she could reach. The message spread across the galaxy like fire. They were losing. The humans were winning. And the humans had made it clear that there would be no negotiation, no compromise, no peace until they understood one simple truth. Humans were not prey. They had never been prey. And anyone who treated them as prey would learn that lesson in blood and fire. 18 months after Ambassador had stood before the Galactic Concord and declared war on humanity, the human Second Fleet arrived in orbit above the 500 warships hung in the darkness of space, looking down at the planet where they had been born, the planet where their civilization had grown for 12,000 years, the planet that held 8 billion lives. Admiral James stood on the bridge of the Perseverance and looked at that world. His officers were silent around him. Everyone knew what this moment meant. "Sir," his weapons officer said quietly, "we have clear firing solutions on all major cities. One order and we can end this war in an hour." Did not respond immediately. He thought about the soldiers he had lost. He thought about the colonies that had been occupied. He thought about Captain and the crew of the who had died rather than surrender. He could burn this world. He had the power. They had started this war. They had killed humans. They had tried to enslave human colonies. By the laws of war, by the traditions of human vengeance, he had every right to make them pay. But he also thought about something else. He thought about what humans had done to each other in the past. The bombs that had destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The wars that had killed millions. The hatred that had nearly destroyed their own species before they ever reached the stars. Humans had learned something from all that death. They had learned that victory without mercy was just another kind of defeat. "Open a channel," said. "All frequencies. I want every on that planet to hear this." The communications officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Took a breath and began to speak. "People of the Dominion, I am Admiral James of the United Terran Federation. 18 months ago, your leaders declared war on my people. They said we were young. They said we were weak. They said we would fall quickly and learn our place." He paused and let those words sink in. "They were wrong. We are not young. We are very old. We have been fighting wars since before your species existed. We have survived ice ages and plagues and weapons that could destroy our entire world. We survived each other. For 10,000 years, we were our own worst enemy, and we are still here." On the planet below, 8 billion listened. In the great halls of their government, leaders who had been so confident 18 months ago now sat in terrified silence. "I could destroy your civilization today," continued. "My ships carry weapons that could burn your cities to ash. I could kill millions of your people before your sun sets. I could make you feel what the families of 7 felt when your fleet arrived. I could teach you what human revenge looks like." He stopped and looked at the planet one more time. So many lives, so many futures. "But I will not, because humans are not only good at war, we are also good at something else. We are good at choosing to be better than we have to be. We have destroyed ourselves before. We have also rebuilt ourselves. We have been monsters. We have also been heroes. And today, I choose to be something other than a monster." In the government halls of the Supreme Commander Axe listened with his scales turning white with shame. His military was broken. His fleet was destroyed. His allies had abandoned him. And now a human admiral, holding the power to end everything, was offering mercy. "This is our demand," said. "Unconditional surrender, withdrawal from all human territory, war reparations for the colonies you damaged, recognition of human sovereignty, and one more thing." Every held their breath. "You will remember this moment. You will teach your children about it. You will tell them that you attacked a species you thought was weak, and you were wrong. You will tell them that we could have destroyed you, but we chose not to. And you will tell them never to make this mistake again. Because next time, the human standing where I stand might not make the same choice I am making today." The transmission ended. 3 hours later, the Dominion surrendered unconditionally. It was the first time in 12,000 years. 1 month after the surrender, the Galactic Concord assembled again. The same crystal hall, the same thousands of species. But this time, when Ambassador walked to the podium, no one laughed. She looked around at the faces watching her. Some showed fear, some showed respect, some showed something that might have been hope. 18 months ago," she said, "Ambassador stood here and called us children. He was not entirely wrong. In some ways, we are children. We are new to this galaxy. We have much to learn about the species who live here. We came to the stars hopping to find friends and knowledge and wonder." She paused. "But we are also something else. We are the children of a violent world. We are the descendants of survivors. For 10,000 years, we fought and killed and died, and somehow we kept going. We learned how to destroy everything, and we learned how to stop ourselves. We are not proud of our past, but we will never forget what we are capable of. She looked directly at the delegation. The new ambassador, a female named, met her eyes without blinking. "We do not want war," said. "We never wanted war. We want to explore, to learn, to grow alongside the other species of this galaxy. But if anyone threatens us, if anyone attacks our homes, if anyone tries to take what we have built, they should know this. We will fight. We will fight with everything we have. We will fight until we win or until there are no humans left to fight. And if you defeat us, if you somehow destroy all of us, our ghosts will find a way to keep fighting." She let those words hang in the silent hall. "This is what we are. This is what we have always been. Now you know. What you do with that knowledge is up to you." She stepped down from the podium and returned to her seat. Scholar, sitting in the observation section, finished writing her final report. She had been working on it for months, trying to understand humans, trying to explain them to a galaxy that had underestimated them so badly. Her conclusion was simple. The humans are not the strongest species in the galaxy. They are not the or the most advanced, but they may be the most dangerous, because they have faced extinction before. They have faced it from their own world, from their own weapons, from their own nature, and they survived. They learned how to kill everything, and they learned how to choose not to. They carry both of those abilities inside them at all times. She looked at the human delegation, sitting quietly in their simple gray uniforms. Do not mistake their peace for weakness. Do not mistake their kindness for softness. Do not mistake their patience for fear. They are being gentle because they choose to be. But inside every human is the memory of 10,000 years of war. And if you wake that memory, if you force them to remember what they truly are, you will discover something terrible. She wrote her final sentence. They are the most lethal species alive, and now, finally, the galaxy knows it. Far away, on Earth, Admiral attended the funeral of Captain and the crew of the. Their bodies had never been recovered, but the memorial was filled with people who wanted to honor their sacrifice. His daughter, a young woman named, approached after the ceremony. "Did they die for nothing?" she asked. "If you were just going to let the surrender anyway?" Shook his head. "They died so we could reach that moment. They died so the galaxy would understand that we will never give up. They died so that the next time someone thinks about attacking humanity, they will remember thee and choose peace instead." He put his hand on her shoulder. "Your father saved more lives by dying than most soldiers save in their entire careers. That is his legacy." Looked up at the stars, where humans were already rebuilding, expanding, growing. "Do you think it's over?" she asked. "Really over?" Followed her gaze upward. Somewhere out there, hundreds of species were reconsidering their opinions about humanity. Some would want to be friends. Some would still want to be enemies. The galaxy was a big place, and there would be more challenges ahead. "No," he said honestly. "It's never really over, but that's okay. We're humans, we're used to fighting, and we're very, very good at surviving." Above them, the stars burned cold and bright, and humanity kept reaching toward them as they always had, as they always would, forever and ever until the last star went dark.